Last time, we spoke about some of the most infamous bugged perks in the entire Fallout series, and the first perk we covered, Puppies from Fallout 3, wasn't really bugged, but rather it opened up a path for an exploit. Well, today, why don't we go over more exploits? Now, each Fallout title has their own share of bugs and exploits, so we'll only be covering one game today, and that is Fallout New Vegas. Let's get into it. Perk Requirement Exploit. The first exploit we'll be going over today is the Perk Requirement exploit. It allows the player to bypass the skill requirements for selecting perks. At every even level up, the player goes through the same order. Assign skill points, then select a perk. Normally, players need to allocate enough skill points in order to meet the requisites for the perks that they want. However, this exploit allows the player to temporarily boost a skill just long enough to select a perk before redistributing them elsewhere. In words, it sounds like something that you could obviously do, but when actually doing the exploit, it becomes clear that this level up interaction was not intended. To do the exploit, the first step is to, obviously, level up. Then you must assign just enough skill points to meet the requisites for a perk. In this example, we're doing the Hand Loader perk, so we have to get to 70 repair. Then advance to the perk selection screen. Find the Hand Loader perk and select it, but do not accept the level up just yet. Instead, go back, reset your skill points, and put them in skills that you actually want. Once that's done, advance to the perk selection screen again, and you'll notice that the Hand Loader perk remains selected even though we don't actually meet the requirements. Finish the level up process, and voila, you've got the Hand Loader perk even though you do not meet the 70 repair skill needed. We can even open up the Pip-Boy and see that the Hand Loader is one of our perks. Bing bam boom, the Perk Requirement exploit. Now, in my opinion, this exploit only has very niche uses. For those who are super min-max about their leveling process, it could prove useful, but for more casual players, myself included, there's no real need to make use of the exploit. It's good in cases where you want a certain perk, say rad resistance, but don't want to put 40 skill points into what I consider a dump skill, like survival. But outside of those very specific min-max cases where you've planned this out beforehand, you can't really get any real use out of this exploit in the moment. But now if you ever do want to plan out one of your builds before, there you go. You can make use of this exploit to do that. On to the next one. Ammo swap. The next exploit, like the last, has some pretty niche uses, but it is a handy money-making scheme, and that is the Ammo Swap exploit. The Ammo Swap exploit allows players to equip alternate ammo types into weapons that normally wouldn't support them. The exploit revolves around the game's hotkey system, and as such, if you're on PC, it requires a controller to make use of it. By manipulating how the game registers ammo changes, players can load any type of ammo into any weapon. Here's how it works. Equip the desired weapon and compatible ammo. In our case, we're using a hunting shotgun and 4.0 buck. Step 2. Press and hold the hotkey button in the Pip-Boy. While still holding it, navigate to the ammo tab and hotkey the desired ammo. Again, this is 4.0 buck. You can now release the hotkey button. Equip any other weapon, and then press the hotkey button that you assigned previously. And voila, now you have a non-shotgun weapon that uses 4.0 buck, like the grenade launcher. You can see why we chose the buck ammo, right? Because it fires 4 projectiles, the weapon of our choosing also now fires 4 projectiles, turning the grenade launcher into a mini MIRV launcher. It's neat. But the most useful application of this exploit isn't combat-focused at all, actually. As we all know, the C4 explosive counts as a weapon in New Vegas, so we can actually use this exploit on the C4. If we load C4 with 4.0 buck, quite a cool thing happens. We load the C4, give it a toss, and voila, it multiplies through the power of mitosis. All of a sudden, we have 4 C4s. And we can do this as long as we want, as long as we have enough 4-0 buck on hand. And now, all of a sudden, we have a near endless supply of plastic explosive. We can use them to cause some mayhem, of course, or we can just sell them for a ton of caps. It's up to you, really. Now, while I think that the C4 duping is the best use case for this exploit, it's not the only one. Another great use is to load the Fat Man with a more common ammo type, such as the 5mm. This way you can still fire mini nukes without actually having to waste your precious mini nuke ammo. You can similarly do it with the Alien Blaster, preserving the limited Alien Blaster rounds that you have. With hundreds of guns and a ton of unique ammo types, I suppose the possibilities of this ammo swap exploit are endless. Still though, I would suggest backing up your save file before experimenting with this glitch, as certain weapon and ammo combinations will cause your game to crash. The ammo swap exploit in New Vegas gives the player a handful of useful applications to try out, as well as a bunch of weird combinations for those who enjoy trying to break the game. Maybe the best use case of all is making a tower of C4. I mean, who doesn't want a C4 tower, you know? Reload dash. Maybe the most infamous Fallout exploit of all is the reload dash, partly because of its notoriety as a common tool used in speedruns, and partly because of how easy it is to actually pull off. Controlling it and doing it fast are the harder parts. For those who don't know, reload dashing is an exploit that allows the player to cross large distances of the game at alarming speeds. Here's how it works. Step 1. Equip a single bullet reload weapon like the 357 Magnum, and make sure you have 2 ammo types for that weapon. Step 2. Move forward, swap ammo types, and pull up the Pip-Boy, unequip the weapon, and bring down the Pip-Boy, all while holding the move forward key. The result is you flying forward some distance. If you hit a rock or sloped object, you'll likely fly into the air as well. So be prepared to quick save, quick load, so you don't die on the landing. The reason this works is because the exploit makes use of a quirk in the game's animation system when the player reloads a weapon, specifically a weapon that reloads a single bullet at a time. This animation forces movement at the end of it, and by unequipping the weapon while in the animation, the game adds a ton of speed to it, causing you to dash forwards. As mentioned, its most common use is during speedruns of the game. Outside of that, it's just a really gimmicky way of reaching locations faster. With that being said, however, I don't think there's been a single instance of me using reload dashing in any of my playthroughs outside of just messing around with it for fun. Oh, and good news, it can be used on console and with a controller, but be warned if you ever fly up into the sky, there is no quick save, quick load to save you. Get out there and get dashing. Speed Cripple. The Speed Cripple exploit in Fallout New Vegas is a glitch that dramatically increases the player's base movement speed by weirdly taking advantage of the game's crippled limb mechanics. Despite its seemingly negative name, this exploit allows players to bypass the normal speed limitations, making it a popular technique for speedrunners. As we all know, when the courier's leg is crippled, their movement speed is reduced. However, with Speed Cripple, you can trick the game into increasing your move speed instead of slowing it. Here's how to do it. Bear in mind, it is very difficult to do, and in maybe my 80 attempts, I only managed to get it twice. I'm sure for those who have practiced it a bunch though, you could reproduce it semi-consistently. Anyway, step 1 is you want to equip a weapon that you can use to cripple your legs, but won't kill you. The grenade launcher and missile launcher are great choices. Then you want to make a quick save. You'll want to shoot your weapon at your feet, crippling them, but at or around the same frame at which you cripple your legs, you're going to want to quick load your save. If done correctly, you'll be moving at noticeably faster speeds. Some weird things about this exploit is that it only gives you the increased speed in first person. And if you go into third person, you'll not only move at the normal New Vegas speed, but you'll also see yourself in the Cripple walking animation, even though your legs are perfectly fine. Now, I think this works because when you cripple your legs, the game wants to reduce your movement speed, but by quickly loading a save, the game then wants to give you back the move speed. But because in your previous save your legs were perfectly fine, you actually end up going over your normal speed, making you much faster. I'm not certain if that's actually how it works, but it makes sense to me. The best use case is, of course, for speedrunning, especially when you're given a grenade launcher at the start of the game. However, due to the shaky reliability of reproducing this exploit, it's not that wise to do it in your own playthroughs. More often than not, you'll probably just get frustrated because you can't get it to work. I'm talking to myself here, by the way. The reward isn't worth the work, in my opinion at least. Infinite XP. Onto the more applicable exploits, ones that you can make use of in your everyday playthroughs. And the first is a pair of infinite XP exploits that make use of speech checks that can be endlessly succeeded. While there have been plenty of infinite speech checks in New Vegas, many of these got patched because they were being exploited to gain an endless amount of XP. Still, not all were fixed. The two methods that are still in the game give around 25-ish XP each. This means that it will take a long while to make meaningful gains, but they can be endlessly repeated, and pairing this exploit with 3 ranks of the Swift Learner perk will improve those XP gains. So there's that. The first exploit happens during the Climb Every Mountain quest in Bitter Springs. You need more than 25 speech, but less than 50. It's a weird requirement, yes, I know. Make your way into the caves and find the Great Khan who is terrorizing the refugees, Oscar Velasco. Go through his dialogue to get the speech check that requires 50 speech, and intentionally fail it. This turns Oscar aggressive. Try to leave the conversation, and he will say something along the lines of, "Why should I let you leave?" You'll then be faced with a true and false check. Pick any of these, it doesn't matter, and you'll get some experience points for it. This can be repeated an infinite amount of times, leading to an infinite amount of XP. That's the first method. The second method, in my opinion, is faster and it doubles as an infinite money glitch too, so it's probably better to do. The only thing that you need is at least 25 speech or 25 barter. After completing Sunny Smiles' tutorial, go talk with Joe Cobb about attacking Goodsprings. This will give you the Run Goodsprings Run side quest. Kill Ringo, then go back to Cobb. Tell him that you'll extort some of the residents for supplies, but before going back to the town, you're going to want to intentionally fail Cobb's quest by killing him and his powder ganger friends. Then you can go to Chet and use a simple speech check to convince him to hand over some supplies. This includes leather armor and some ammo, but more importantly, some EXP. And because you failed the quest that requires you to shake down the residents of Goodsprings, you'll never be able to complete the quest's objectives, allowing you to perform that speech check an unlimited amount of times. This gets you an infinite amount of XP, leather armor, and 9mm ammo. So it's like a double whammy. While it will take a while to gain a meaningful amount of levels, both of these methods will provide a guaranteed and endless supply of experience points. So who's complaining? Infinite caps. Just like the infinite XP exploits, Fallout New Vegas also features a handful of infinite money glitches, and while many of them have been patched over the years, there's still at least one strategy that remains. Sure, you could sell all the gear that Chet infinitely gives you, but good luck finding vendors with enough caps to handle your insane supply. This glitch, however, bypasses the need for vendors entirely and is tied to the internal limits of the game engine. With it, you can become incredibly wealthy within minutes, ensuring you'll never have to scavenge or trade for caps the normal way. The only catch, though, is that it requires a small, upfront investment. Economics 101 after all, you need money to make money. The exploit revolves around casino chips. The game engine struggles to handle high values of chips due to its reliance on 16-bit integers, which can only represent numbers between minus 32,768 and positive 32,767. When you exceed this limit by dropping more than 32,768 chips, the game gets confused and assigns you a negative number of chips, which you can then trade for infinite money. Here's how it works. First, you'll need to get more than 32,768 chips from any casino, so aim for around 33,000 to make it simple. This can be done by turning in caps, NCR money, or Legion money. It's a bit tricky for sure to get that much coin, but the returns are well worth the effort. Once you have the chips, drop them on the ground. It sounds counterintuitive, but trust me, it's necessary. When you drop the chips, an overflow error occurs, converting your 33,000 positive chips into roughly minus 32,000 negative chips. Now pick them up. The chips won't show up in your inventory, but they'll still be there. Trust me. Now for the fun part. You can take those negative chips to the casino cashier and trade them for positive bottle caps. Repeat this process as many times as you like, essentially gaslighting the cashier into believing that you never received your winnings. It's that easy. After you've pulled off this little gaslighting routine over and over and over again, you'll be rolling in bottle caps. Where you're storing all those caps? I'm not sure. This method completely breaks the Mojave Wasteland economy. The most expensive gunrunner's arsenal weapons, they're yours. And if you ever run out of caps, just do the process again and fill your coffers. Even better, this exploit also works with NCR dollars and Legion money. By the end of it, outside of Mr. House, you'll probably be the wealthiest person in the Mojave Wasteland, if not richer than House himself. Essentially, it's free money, as long as you have enough to get your chips in the first place. Item duplicating. When you think of video game exploits, many think of three things: infinite XP glitch, infinite money glitch, and, say it with me, item dupe glitch. And so the final exploit we'll be going over today is item duplicating. And New Vegas has one true item duplication technique, but I'll be frank, it's not entirely reliable. It requires a bit of setup, and you can't just duplicate any old item. Let me explain. To perform the exploit, you'll need to find a container with an item that you want to duplicate. The key detail here is that the item must naturally spawn inside of the container, meaning that you can't just duplicate any item you want. You have to naturally find a container with items that you want to duplicate. This makes it a great exploit for stim packs, Sunset Sarsaparilla bottles to get these special bottle caps, normal bottle caps, and other aid items. Additionally, you'll need to have at least 6 of another item with weight, which you'll use as a transfer item in the duplication process. For example, a bunch of purified water, other junk, or for the best effect, ammunition in hardcore mode. It works well since ammo has a weight in that mode. The more of this weighted item, the better. Once you've found the container and are ready, follow these steps. Open the container that holds the item you want to duplicate. Select the stack of at least 6 weighted items, like purified water, in your inventory, and put them in the container. Make it so that the only items in the container are your large stack of weighted items, and the item you want to duplicate. Next up is the tricky part. Select your stack and the game should prompt a how many box. You want to immediately press OK. If timed correctly, the stack of items will move to the opposite side of the inventory screen, but the how many box will remain. Then if you press OK again, you'll find out that you just duplicated the container item. In this example, I just received 100 Sunset Sarsaparillas. As you can see, by quickly removing your weighted items before the how many box is done, you trick the game into thinking that the remaining item in the container also has an identical stack count to your weighted item. As for the reason why you need a weighted item and can't use ammo in normal difficulties, is because the game never actually prompts you with the how many box when looting weightless items like ammo from containers. You'll always just take the full stack. Though it may take a few tries to get the hang of it, once you've nailed down the timing, the container duping exploit can become an incredibly useful tool. While you may not be able to dupe unique weapons or easily spawn stim packs like you're using console commands, this exploit is handy for getting more loot out of some random containers you come across. You don't always have to duplicate 100 sarsaparillas, but turning 2 stim packs into 8 stim packs can be pretty handy on occasion. Now, a similar concept can be used to gain an infinite amount of store credit from any vendor. This exploit is known as ghost duping. It allows you to potentially buy out an entire shopkeeper's inventory without spending a single cap. Here's how it works. First, find a merchant and select 2 items from their inventory. Don't buy them yet. One of these items must have more than 7 copies, for example 7 units of ammo, and the other needs to be something expensive, like a high-value weapon or piece of armor. Notably, the item with multiple copies needs to alphabetically come first so that it sits on top of your inventory screen. Once both items are in your inventory, you're ready to start the ghost duping process. Much like the container duping glitch, the ghost duping exploit relies on precise timing. Select the ammo stack and the game should prompt a how many box. You want to immediately press OK, and if timed correctly, the ammo stack will move back to the vendor's inventory screen, but the how many box will remain. Then if you press OK again, you'll find out that the expensive item will have gone back to the vendor's inventory screen. Now, while it may not look like anything has happened, you just duplicated the expensive item and sold it back to the shopkeep. For store credit only, of course. While the barter arrows won't show, if you do try and buy something from the vendor, if the exploit worked, you'll be able to see that it's actually the vendor that owes you caps, even if you haven't sold anything to them yet. The bigger stack of ammo used to duplicate the expensive item, the more store credit you will have. This allows you to buy out entire inventories of vendors, regardless of how many caps you actually have. In my opinion, it's definitely the most practical exploit of all the ones we've covered today. Where the other exploits require specific conditions or are difficult to reproduce, the ghost duping exploit provides a simple way to get any item you want from any vendor. Well, as long as they have a stack of more than 7 items. Give it a try. You'll be able to buy all those Vendortron items easy peasy. To wrap things up, Fallout New Vegas has a ton of creative exploits that allows players to bend the game's rules in fascinating ways. Whether it's using the Perk Requirement glitch to bypass restrictions, mastering the ammo swap for endless C4, or reload dashing for increased mobility, the game's jankiness is as much a part of its charm as its story. While using them might not be for everyone, these exploits do offer an inside look at how New Vegas can be broken and exploited, showcasing just how much fun it is to tinker with the game's mechanics. I'll leave you with a final piece of advice. Remember, if you're ever falling from a really high distance, just quick save quick load. Surely you'll stop your momentum. Surely. But that's all from me today, folks. If you liked the video, be sure to share and subscribe. What are some other infamous Fallout exploits? Join the Discord. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers.
Keep deluding yourself if you want. I've seen the NCR's true face.
Disappointed. We call them the Misfits for a reason.